Hello everybody, welcome back to the Lucy Fox Show. Welcome to our sofa. This is my adorable little family. You don't get to meet them very often. This is Joey, this is Grumpy Jasper, and that's Mino on the end. Don't know if you can see her fully. And this is my husband. Hello husband. So, under the name of the Goddess Code, we are talking about having it all this month. That is the theme and the vibe of this month's podcasts. Thank you, Joey. So, it would be amiss of me to not have my husband on here to talk about what it's been like to be in a relationship with not only me as a crazy human, but also as a successful entrepreneur, as a business owner, what it's been like to be around through the years of burnout, the years of breakdown, and also the years where business has boomed. And so I wanted to give you this insight because I truly believe in letting go of the struggle, letting go of the sacrifice, and letting go of the beliefs that in order to have a successful business, our marriage or relationship has to suffer, or in order for us to grow and expand our career, that our personal life has to struggle. And I don't believe that any of those things are true. So I wanted to bring my husband on to share about a little bit insights into our life, our marriage, our love, his opinions and thoughts, although they could be controversial. So I warn you, and let us know what you think in the comments. Hello, husband.
Hello, wifey.
So, thank you for doing this. I know it's not an everyday occurrence where I'm like, hey, talk to everyone about our marriage.
That's all right. This is an everyday occurrence, sitting with the dogs, so it's pretty much the same, just having a conversation at the same time.
We're just recording it, yeah. And to be honest, we actually say a lot of the time, why didn't we record that? Because we have some, one, hilarious, but two, deep conversations all the time. We're very deep people. Also very shallow and very surface level sometimes.
Yeah, we do have a lot of conversations where we say, God, I wish that was recorded.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you about is obviously when we got together, we were in very different life stages, right? So when we got together in kind of early 2019, I had already had a very successful business. I think I was almost about to turn 6 figures. I really knew where I was going and what I was doing. I was self-employed. I was leaving a marriage. And so there was like a lot going on for me. And you were in quite a different place in terms of like your career projections and where you were going. So I guess, what was it like for you to, in what society would traditionally consider moving into a relationship with a woman who was like breadwinning, fast-paced entrepreneur? Because that's not every guy's dream, right? So I guess, what was it like in those early days being around me from a business perspective?
I don't know, it's quite an hard question really, because I don't necessarily always think back to that and think, what was it like? I just feel like a relationship from the start until now has just been and just flowed through. So I guess it was, I don't know, I've never been in that situation, so I didn't know like what to expect, or it didn't bother me in the slightest that at the time he was earning twice as much as me. Like, none of that ever fazed me in the slightest. Yeah, I was still working shift work. So I still had a normal job, I guess, and working shift work. And I don't know, I found it quite fun, quite fast paced, quite inspiring, I guess, because I've never known what I wanted to do for work ever. I just always naively, but actually looking back, not so naively, always said I'll be in the right place at the right time and things will just work out. I don't need to know what I want to do. But I guess obviously coming into the relationship and us getting together, you was self-employed, you had loads of different things going on, and I was like, this seems pretty cool. I was like, she works from home. I was like, I have to go to work. And then obviously we got Mino as a puppy. And then I was going to work and I was like, oh, I'd rather be at home. I know you was working a hell of a lot. You had like loads of different stuff going on, but
that was in the season where I thought you had to work a lot to be successful.
Yeah.
That was in that season.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess I thought it was just pretty cool. I was like, and because it was all new, I don't know. I just found it exciting. I found it fun.
Yeah. And I think it was, I mean, obviously we moved in together really quickly. We knew that we wanted to be together, and so it made no sense to not live together. Like, it was a smart move for that exact reason. A big part of that was the fact that, you know, you worked, and if we, you know, on top of like us not living together, we just really wouldn't see each other, because the nature of a lot of what the work I do, obviously, and although my business now is very different, at the time I was doing quite a bit of evening work, the nature of doing like social media lives and people's business launches when I was doing net marketing, and, you know, doing kind of evening calls with clients, which obviously I still do now, you know, it would have meant that we literally never saw each other other than like a Saturday or a Sunday. So it made sense at the time. And I think a big part of why that also really worked in that early phase is like we were both also figuring out our own stuff. Like, I think it was good that you had a job that first year, because I think if you'd actually been self-employed and worked from home too, we might have been like, it might have been too intense in that first year where we were kind of getting to know each other, and actually maybe gave us that sense of distance.
Yeah, because I guess we were still getting to know each other. because it was all like all in at once.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, we was both. Yeah, I guess we was both going through a stage of figuring out what we both wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I just know it wasn't what I was doing. I was like, I don't want to do this, but I don't know what the next step is from there. But you helped me realise that.
I kind of forced you, because what happened was, so we got Minnie.
Well, yeah, but no.
Yeah, as in I put you in a situation where you were forced to choose better, because basically we were going into 2020 and we got Minnie, not knowing a pandemic was coming, and we got her, and then actually we had already booked flights, but before we got her, we had already booked flights to go and do a 6-week trip to like Australia.
That's a new place.
It's a new place. Australia, Bali. Where else were we going? New Zealand?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had some Malaysian flights as well. So basically, we'd got like this 6-week trip plan that we were going to do in 2020, and I'd paid for the whole thing. It was all booked. We were ready to rock and roll, and then the pandemic happened, and then none of that happened. But obviously, before that, you know, we knew we were going for 6 weeks, and Josh was like, well, there's no point like trying to get leave for 6 weeks.
Well, I couldn't.
Exactly. You were like, I'll just quit my job.
Yeah, no one who gets 6 leaves at work unless you're a teacher.
Yeah, and
You
that's
just don't.
set hours, yeah. So yeah, that was you were like, I'll just quit my job and start coaching. And then we didn't go because there was a pandemic. That was a bit of a shitter.
Well, that was fun because I had always been asked by people for me to coach them. And I'd always said no because I was like, I have a full-time job. I wanted to make sure I was good enough to coach as well. I know loads of people just starting the fitness industry, they've probably been training like a year, probably competed once, and then they go, right, I'm a coach. I personally, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I personally wanted way more experience. So I waited and waited and waited. And then I thought that was the right time. And you was like, well, can you get that time off work? And I was like, well, just quit. So yeah, that was when I quit. And then we had a lockdown, and then no gyms were open anyway, so I couldn't really coach anybody.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't PT anybody, but then it was.
But online coaching was difficult because who wants to pay for an online coach every month when they're doing homework?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I get your point. Yeah. So, but what was interesting in this time, and this kind of really brings it back to how a supportive relationship can change everything in business, is that was actually the season where my network marketing business exploded. And by exploded, I mean like quadrupled, tripled and quadrupled kind of in the space of like 30 days. And it was a magical time. It was intense as hell, but it was truly wonderful. Like it was, there's so much about it that, you know, in the beginning I looked back and it felt exhausting and stressful, but I look back now and realize how much faith and trust I built in the universe in that time, and what my relationship was like with manifesting was something else. Like it was the first time I'd ever really experienced anything like that, other than maybe, you know, how we got together. But one of the biggest successes and kind of supportive things at that time that I've talked about was the fact that you weren't working. Because if you had had a job, if you'd have kept your job and gone to work over those 3 months, and I'd had the 2 dogs and been doing what I was doing, which was really, you know, again, I was totally in the hustle culture mode then, was pulling the hours I was pulling the commitment I was pulling, you know, and we were locked down. So there was no real sense of like escape or relief anyway. So I kind of thought, well, fuck it, I might as well work. If you hadn't been around, I don't know if I'd have achieved those goals. That's just like, because I wouldn't have had, 1, your emotional support, 2, practical things like you did the supermarket shopping, you like made sure there was food in the fridge, like you made sure the dogs got walked if I had calls, like, do you know what I mean? And that stuff sounds so small and superficial, but you can't underestimate how impacting and how impactful those things are when you don't have them.
Yeah, I was basically a kept man.
You were a kept
I
man.
was a bit of a house husband for a bit.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It fed into my cougar narrative. It fed into my, I am older. It fed into my cougar rich woman vibe, which I enjoyed greatly. But seriously though, but what was it like for you in that time? Because I was in a very different headspace than I'm at now. Obviously now I'm in the place where I know I can achieve my goals and don't need to work every hour like that exists. I know that my energy is worth so much more than my effort. I know now that my alignment matters more than my action. And so I act and operate and work from a very different energy now. But what was it like, I guess, to be on the other side of that? You know, like, were you worried about me? You know, I guess I'm just interested to hear your perspective on that season and that version of me.
I wouldn't say necessarily worried, because I guess I wasn't necessarily worried about you, and this is not pumping my own tyres. But
I've never heard that phrase before.
Have you not?
How have I never heard you say that before?
It's like blowing your own trumpet.
Oh my God, that's way better.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Okay, sorry, carry on.
Not to toot my own horn, pump my own tyres.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
But yeah, I didn't worry about it in a sense of like overworking or anything like that, because I was there. I was like, well, I know she'll be all right, because if there's any pressure or strain to take, then I can do that in whatever capacity that is. Or I would recognise it and be like, might want to just take your foot off the gas for a second. But I don't know, again, it was just exciting. Everything was like quite fast paced. It was fun. I was kind of involved in the business, as in I knew what your network marketing business was about. I knew all the people in it. Went to different events and stuff together, and I just found it. And because obviously before we moved in and before we got together, like we knew each other anyway, so I knew what you did, and I'd seen it start growing, and I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. I think it's awesome when you see anyone start doing really well, let alone the person that you love and your partner. So I think it's wicked when you see those things come to fruition and things start doing really well. So yeah, I just found it quite exciting, but it made me want to do something, because I was like seeing firsthand. Again, it's different when you look back, because now we know you don't need to pile loads of effort and grind into something. But I just saw the fact it's like, cool, if you put this much, let's say, energy into something that you love and you know is going to do well, and you've already got a vision for it doing well, so you can see where it's heading. And it's like, I just saw, if you put this energy into something, this is going to happen. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And I've always been doing that with the gym anyway, but that's something that's at the time was never turned into a career or making any money. It was just a hobby, and it still is a hobby and always will be. And I'll never make it not, because
It's your thing.
that's my thing. But yeah, I guess I just saw that and I was like, well, I've been doing it with this. I've seen you do it with that. I want to do something.
Yeah, love that.
So yeah, it's just exciting.
Yeah, and it was, and I think something that's really important to note about like the period of like where the magic is happening, and like there is a difference between like hustle culture where you have to work hard and it's about monotony and tick lists and showing up and getting it done and that kind of like energy that feels quite forceful, and the energy of like manifesting and things moving really quickly. And I think that sometimes we blend those two things and confuse them, that we think that if we're not working hard that we're not manifesting, and it's just not true. You're manifesting every second of every day. Like your energetic vibration is what you attract and bring into your world. And if you're overwhelmed and stretched and stressed, that's not necessarily that's actually going to manifest less good stuff. Just enough, buddy, enough. That's actually going to manifest, less good stuff, because actually your nervous system isn't able to handle what comes. So even if you have big desires, like this one here, even if you have big desires, if the nervous system capacity isn't there to handle it, even if you get it, you won't keep it. And that was something that I really saw happen after that season, was that, I did not have the nervous system to create basically what I'd created in my network marketing business, the promotion to the top level. I wasn't ready. And that's not mentally ready. I'm a highly intelligent woman. It wasn't even emotionally ready. I'm incredibly emotionally intelligent. I know this about myself, but I wasn't ready in my nervous system. I didn't have the emotional capacity to hold space for those hundreds of people and to process that volume of like information every month, and to take on that responsibility, and in the middle of a pandemic whilst still having a really successful fitness coaching business. And now I can look back and see that, right, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And so I wouldn't change it because I learned a lot, right? But what followed that, not for a couple of years, because I just didn't let myself feel it. And you have resilience until one day you don't, right? You have nervous system capacity until one day you don't. And that was what happened to me when in 2021, I think the wheels started to fall off. And I remember one night sat in a house when we lived in Maidenhead, where I was just in a fucking rage, and you were just not at you were just listening to me rant about shit because I was just fuming about loads of random shit. Do you remember that night? Do you remember the night I mean?
I think so.
You were sat on the blue sofa, yeah. And I was just venting and frustrating, and that was really when, now looking back, like 4 years ago now, I can look back and see that was when the wheels began to fall off. But I didn't know that was happening. I actually thought I was going a bit mad to start with, and actually what was happening was signs and symptoms of burnout and a breakdown on its way in, because I hadn't healed my nervous system from the overwhelming experience of the pandemic, combined with big business growth, I hadn't healed that. So 2021, 22 was the bulk of the burnout, right? With a little bit bleeding into 23, the year we got married. So I guess I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on the burnout season and era, and then maybe we'll talk about what it's like to see me now, and then we'll dive into a bit about money. So I guess that burnout season, so when I was in kind of that, I'm going to call it a dark place, a low place, where I wasn't my usual self, where I wasn't that person that you'd met, where I wasn't that vibrant, energetic being, because I was going through some difficult stuff that had nothing to do with the here and now, and also everything to do with the here and now. I guess, I know we've talked about this before in the podcast, so I guess we don't need to get into too much detail, but what was that like for you, and how did you feel like you could support me? Like, what was it you felt like you could do in that time? Because I imagine a lot of men would feel pretty helpless in that time.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of people do feel hopeless in that time because there's nothing that any one person can actually do to make it better because it's something you have to do. But and it's hard because there's someone that you really care about and you love and that you live with and you see every day, and a lot of the time there's just nothing there. And I was like, okay, I didn't know how long this was going to last. Do I say anything? Do I not say anything? And I guess all I could do is, I feel like I'm quite a positive person, but also quite laid back. So sometimes the positivity don't come across because I'm pretty much like, but it's a good thing.
If there was an emoji for you, it would be.
Yeah. If there is an emoji, that is me. And because I'm like that, I was like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna be me, and I'm really not gonna try and let how you're feeling affect me in a sense of how my day to day runs, because if I do, then I'm just going to feel low, and then if I know, come home from the gym and I'm like, then it's just not going to go well because it's going to bounce at each other and both be miserable as fuck. So yeah, I just tried to keep being me, keep doing what I was doing, and if I was in a positive headspace all the time, not that I'm walking around and going, yeah, positive mindset, and just Googling positive mindset quotes and then posting them on Instagram because it's absolute bullshit. That's all I could focus on really, is just being me. And if I was in a good headspace and I was happy in what I was doing, because the gym has always been my thing and I love doing that, I get to do something I love every single day. So I'm like, cool, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to focus on my coaching, try and build that. And if all those things are in a good place, then, and my cup is full, then hopefully, I could pour some of that into you. But if I let how you was feeling and let your burnout affect me in a place where I was getting quite down and thinking, oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? Blah, blah, blah. Then you would feed off of that as well. And you'd just be living with someone who was miserable. And I'm like, that's not going to help anybody.
No.
And I guess the only thing that I could do is just do all the little things. Like you said, like the tiny little things that you don't want to have to think about. I don't know, like doing the shopping or walking the dogs or...
Yeah, like when I would sleep in a lot. And you would just get up and take the dogs out and it was just done. I didn't have to think about it. So then if I did wake up with energy, you were cool for me to just plow that into my work and my business and what I was doing. And I think something that's really interesting about this as well is like, I think there's still a narrative that if someone's in a burnout phase or a breakdown phase or like going through their healing journey or something, that somehow makes them less capable at doing their job. And that's not actually what happens. What happens is it's everything outside of the thing that gives them the
you were
purpose.
still doing everything.
I was still
Still
fully giving my business. I was
showing up for your clients. Like everything was spot on.
And it's interesting, but it was just the in between was when I was processing. So like
the
we still had
bits.
date nights. We still went on vacation. All those things still happened. I just wasn't as relaxed and calm and easy. I wouldn't say I'm easy breezy ever, but like relaxed is a good word. Like I remember going on holiday last year in October and just being like so fucking zen, and I'd never felt that way in my entire life, and that was like in end of 2024. So I guess go on.
Yeah, I also think as well that if someone is in that place of burnout, or let's say in a dark place or a low place or whatever, I think a lot of people, if they live with someone like that or their friend is like that or whatever, they would feel guilty for feeling good or having a great day. And I'd come home and be like, how was your day? I'm like, yeah, it's wicked. I can't feel guilty about that. I had a really good day. I don't need to be like, oh, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah,
so
you're treading on eggshells.
Yeah, you should never tread on eggshells or never play anything down. I've played things down before and it's the stupidest thing in the world. You should, like, I'm sure there's probably, say if another couple has been in that situation and it was the other way around. Like say if, I don't know, the guy was going through a dark place and having a low point, I'm sure that his wife might sometimes feel guilty for, oh, I'm going to go out with my friends tonight and have a really good time. So no, do it.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because obviously there have been some hardships over the last couple of years. Like I remember when Neil died. And I remember that really, really affected you. And I remember feeling like even just for that short period where you were processing that, I remember being like, oh gosh, because I'm a highly sensitive person, right? So I feed off everyone else's energy. So you read everyone else's energy. You're also a highly sensitive person. That is for sure. And it's also why animals love us, right? Hence all the animals. Honestly, one day we'll have a goat, I'm promising you.
We ain't getting any more animals.
Not in this house anyway. But the difference is that because you just have such better emotional boundaries. And one, a big part of that is you're a dude, so you don't have the same hormonal fluctuations. But two, we have different nervous systems that have been through different things, that have had different soul purposes, that have had different lifetimes. And so I did definitely feel like when Neil passed, that's just the most recent experience I can think of, or when like family have been unwell and things like that, that I feel like I wasn't sure how to be around you. Not because you were angry or upset, but more because I am that person that automatically feels guilt and shame. Like guilt and shame is a fucking default setting for people like me who've got shame trauma and good girl trauma, that we want to make sure everyone else is okay and like
because you was like
peacekeeping
right? And I'm like, yeah. But you're like, are you though?
Yeah,
Like,
'cause-
should I do this? Should I be like that? I'm like,
yeah.
no, it's all cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest, and that's one of the strengths I was going to say about, I think why our relationship that then's obviously become a marriage over the last couple of years has really thrived is the communication we have, you know, and how much we do communicate. And we don't have children, so I always like to caveat that, because I never want to make out like that we've got it all figured out, because we don't have kids. And I know that is a whole other layer of like in any situation. But what would you say are the strengths of our communication? Like, what would you say makes it so good, other than us sending Frenchy reels to each other on Instagram, which is pebbling?
The amount of Frenchy reels we send each other.
And we do love our Jack Russell. It's just that Frenchy reels are hilarious.
Oh, no one does any reels about Jack Russell cross dashing.
Yeah.
So just you two, little pig. Communication. Why is it good? Why is it? How is it good? I don't know. We just always. I think we're just good at voicing how we're feeling. Like, I might come to you and go, I don't need you to say anything. Someone's just really like grinding my gears, and I just want to let it out. And you're like, okay, and you just listen. Don't want a solution. I don't want an input. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. And it's like, okay, cool.
Or you'll say to me, I don't know what to do about this. What do you think? And then I know you're giving me permission to give my opinion, because I might have an opinion on it, because it could be something I've experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you do the same as well.
Yeah, I definitely go, I don't need a solution.
Yeah. Probably more often than
I'm just ranting.
Probably more often. It's that way around, definitely.
Just expressing how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, or just even just like WhatsApping, just messaging. Like, I might be away or you might be away. If something comes in your head, you'll just say it, and you're like, I just need to write it here so I don't forget it, or while it's fresh in my head.
Yeah.
Just little things as well that I think a lot of people don't do, that you never should do anything, but you should want to. Well, you should want to, but like just when we leave the house, always say I love you, always say bye.
Yeah, because
We
even if
always
I'm
know
on a
where we're
call or
going.
something, you'll WhatsApp me and say it.
Yeah, rather than shouting up if you're on the phone, I'll just WhatsApp you.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. Some people don't do that.
Yeah, we
And
actually
that
kind of
doesn't
committed to do
matter,
that, didn't
but-
we? It was a kind of an actual agreement. We actually had that conversation that said, we're always going to say that. And do you know something really fun about us? We don't say I love you too. So we both say I love you and I love you. We don't ever say I love you too, because it's like bonus love. It's not like, I don't know, it just never felt like, it felt
Yeah,
such
it
a
just
cop
feels
out, didn't it?
like, I don't know. You'll say something, you go, yeah, me too. Just agreeing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're actually committing and being intentional about your emotions and your energy. So we basically agreed at the very beginning that we'd never say it.
No, we don't.
And we don't. We've never done it.
We've said it like once, and then
Gone,
say if you've
"Oh."
said it to me, I'm like, what's going on with you?
Or you're like, she's not even listening to me. She's doing something else. She's just replying because she's talking to her mate.
Yeah.
Or I'm working. Yeah, I love that. So following the burnout breakdown season, which was quite a long one, and one of the hardest parts of that season actually was about when I had to confront some feelings about relationships and about us, and like I had some shame about some decisions I'd made in the past, and like, you know, and also things I wanted for the future. And, you know, so we have had some difficult conversations over the last couple of years. So I guess, what do you think has made those difficult conversations less difficult, without going into what they were about? Because that's our stuff, not podcast stuff.
What's made them less difficult?
As in, like, what's helped us get through them without that being a thing? Because, like, we don't argue. We occasionally
never
raise our
argue.
voice, occasionally, and then one of us goes, "Ooh, pull it right back down."
I think that's happened literally like twice.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Ever.
And it's normally been about something that's not even to do with us.
No, it's nothing to do with us.
Yeah. So I guess when we have had a couple of difficult conversations over the last couple of years, and that might have been difficult because I was really down or broken, or it might be about a topic that we're not agreed on, because we do disagree on stuff. Like, we're not a couple that just agrees on everything, because we don't. Like, that's... But I guess what's helped us get through them from your perspective, I guess?
I guess just talking about them more. And whenever we talk about anything like that, there's never any like pressure on it, or we don't always have to get to an answer there and then. We just kind of tell each other how we feel, and if it's a difficult topic, it's like, I feel like this, I feel like this. Okay, cool. Do we need to come to a solution there and then? Probably not. And there's no like, I don't know, there's just no pressure on it, there's no tension on it.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. There's no pressure. Yeah, it's not like a pressure cooker. It's kind of, this is the thing, we're just going to leave it out here and then just let it percolate and see where it lands.
Yeah, and we might have the same conversation 2 months later.
Yeah, and that's actually often happened with us a lot, that we kind of throw an idea into the mix and then we just kind of leave it and see what happens.
Yeah, and it's not, you hear some people all the time, like you might hear a couple say that they have the same argument over and over and over and over again. We might have the same discussion, it's never an argument, but not over and over and over again. We'll just talk about it, and I'm like, I know how you feel about this, you know how I feel, and yeah, we don't have to come up with a solution there and then. And I don't know, I feel like we're pretty good at meeting in the middle on stuff.
Yeah, and I would never say it's compromise either, because I don't believe marriage is about compromise. I believe it's about, because it's not about me and you always getting 50-50 of what we want.
No, I think it's about just understanding what the other person wants
And flexibility.
and understanding how the other person feels, and then be like, okay, I kind of want this, or you want it, you feel like that. How can we just kind of make that work? It's not like a compromise, right? I have to give up this and you have to give up that so we can do that.
Exactly, like this is what I'm saying about sacrifice. Like that sacrifice is a lie. The concept of sacrifice is a lie. Like it's a choice. So for example, I don't.
Can I just say something
Yeah.
as well? I also don't think sacrifice really exists. And I only say this through bodybuilding terms. When people like prepping for a show, you have to diet really hard and people have to sacrifice their social life and sacrifice meals out and whatever. I'm like, you're not, because you're choosing to do it.
Exactly.
So you're not sacrificing anything. You're just going, I'm not going to do this. It's not like I'm having to give that up. You don't. You never have to do anything.
Everything's a choice.
So I'm like, if you are choosing to do that, be happy about the choice that you've made and not be like, right, I've had to give up this. You're like, well, yeah, because I want to do this. You're not giving up anything. That's why, I don't know, it's fine, sacrifice a weird word. It's like giving up something so you can have something else. But I'm like, well, you don't have to give anything up. You can just choose the different
But this
option.
is where the narratives of society, like society and the way that the constructs of society are built, is that we have to believe in sacrifice. This is what the Goddess Code is built on, right? The Goddess Code is the program for those burnt out entrepreneurs, those like struggling single solopreneurs, or those corporate women who need a change, who are just feeling like they're constantly giving something up to get what they want, and who are ready to move out of that and ready to have it all. And this is where this podcast is really inspired by, is the fact that I don't ever feel like I have to give something up to get something else. I feel like I consciously choose everything I'm doing. And if I've overcommitted myself, which is a conversation we've been having today, I've recently overcommitted myself to a number of work engagements and things coming up, but I chose all of those things. So I'm not sacrificing everything or anything. I'm choosing, and now I may need to have some difficult conversations to uncommit myself from things, which will be difficult and uncomfortable, but I'm not sacrificing those opportunities. I'm choosing not to do them for the betterment of my well-being. And so whilst we still perpetuate the story of sacrifice in body, in business, in money, in love, that is what we're going to experience. And so this is what the Goddess Code is built on. So if you want to find out more, you can find out more at lucysuperfox.com/goddess, and I will drop the links below. So seeing me in this era then, this era of, you smiled, which is just like the best response ever. You didn't even need to say anything else. But seeing me in this era, my ease and flow era, the last kind of 18 months of building Lucy Superfox up again in a different way, fully mindset, root cause therapist, life coach. Like, what's that been like to watch it grow, but also from a very different energy of me?
Better.
Like the Snickers advert, it was so funny.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just, I don't know, more, I won't say, well, yeah, chilled, but not chilled as in laid back, doing nothing, chilled.
Trusting.
Yeah. Yeah, just trusting. And you have an idea and you're like, that's a good idea. Okay, cool. And then like 2 days later, you're like, still really good idea. I'm going to do it. Rather than, oh, I've got this idea. Right, I have to make this work. It's just like, I don't know, it feels like you've just allowed things to come to you to happen without trying to go find the things to do and happen. And yeah, it's just awesome to see. And again, not pumping my own tyres.
He's a little bit pumping his own tyres.
I'm pumping all my fucking tyres. I feel like I've always been like, never intentionally. I've never thought I'm going to be like this sort of person. But I've always just been like, everything will happen how it's supposed to. Don't worry about it. Things will crop up and opportunities will turn up and ideas will turn up, and I'll just go, yeah, I'm going to go do that. Or that'll be really cool if that happens. And then when it does, I go, yeah.
I've always said you're a magic manifester. He's just working on the millions. So, on you, babe.
Yeah, there's just a few other more important things than that.
He's got some goals this year. We'll get those out of the way and then the millions can come. So, final thing then.
Yeah, just more ease and flow.
Yeah, love that. That's what the Goddess Code is about, babes. So, final thing, money. Let's talk about the dynamics of money, because obviously I talk about money a lot. I think money is amazing and sexy and wonderful and just this beautiful thing. And we still live, we're both British. We live in a culture and society where all people do is moan about how expensive everything is. And that's not me denying the reality of things like inflation and cost of living crisis, but it's me talking about how the relationship you have with money will dictate the relationship you have with money, right? So speaking of which, obviously you already touched on that when we got together. I was already in a great business position. I was earning probably double maybe triple what you were earning when you had your job. Yeah. I guess, what was that like to, you joked about it earlier being a kept man, but like, what was that like to be with somebody who was kind of financially providing and financially thriving? I guess, because there'd be a lot of dudes, I'm not saying that dudes watch my podcast, but there would be a lot of people who are in that more masculine energy in their partnership that would find that really fucking difficult. So I guess I'm curious on your mindset on navigating that period.
I was going to say something quite controversial.
You can say whatever you like.
Cool. I'm going to say how I feel. If somebody feels like that, then they're clearly not in their masculine energy, are they?
No, thank you for saying it so I didn't have to, because I'm not a dude.
Oh, right. Yeah, but they are. Like, I feel like if anyone's sort of intimidated by that, or they're like, oh, I should be the breadwinner, I'm like, yeah, cool if you want to, but don't be threatened by it if your partner's doing awesome. I'm like, amazing. Support them. How good is that? Like, yeah, I don't see that as a bad thing at all. And I'm just very comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing. And I don't know, when we got together, the things I was doing was maybe taking a little bit longer, but again, I still had no idea what I wanted to do.
You're
so
also
I'm like,
younger than me. Give yourself some
yeah,
grace.
got 3 years on you, babe.
4.
3 and a bit.
Oh, right, yes, 3.5. So half the year we're 4 years apart in age, and half the year we're 3.
It's a good half of the year. From December through till March is a good part of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if, like you said, if someone's in their masculine energy and they're like, oh, I need to be the breadwinner, and they are worried about that, I'm like, you're clearly not in your masculine energy, or you're clearly not
In your embodied masculine, yeah. You're in your wounded, yeah.
You are in your head, but you're not in your nervous system and your feeling and how you actually are as a person. Because if you was, you would, one, be really comfortable with who you are and be like, I know what I'm doing is great. And you wouldn't feel the need to. I don't think anyone should ever feel the need to provide. You should just both work.
Again, it's about choice. It's about desire. It's about want.
Yeah, just work together.
And that's what alignment is. It's about conscious choice and then lining up your beliefs with your desires and then moving in that direction. And that is all manifestation is, right? So I guess, were there any times in our relationship over the past 6.5 years, whatever it is, that we've been together that money's been a thing for us? Like the difference in what we earn, or like how we make our money, or anything like this that's ever been a thing, like a thing? I don't think so, no.
Nope.
Because we've always found a solution. There's
never been a thing.
No.
There'll be sometimes you would say, oh, we're going away next weekend, I've booked it. And I'll be like, cool. I'll be like, do you want to, like, I don't know, do you want to go halves on that? Do you want to split that? And you're like, no, I've got this. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I ain't going to moan about that. I'm like, it's freaking awesome. Then other times I would have just, something's cropped up and we've got it. I go, yeah, no, I've got that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And also like we spend money on different things. So like I like really nice things. Like, you don't really spend that much money on clothes other than clothes you functionally need for like a wedding or whatever, or like
I never buy clothes.
Yeah, whereas I really like wearing nice clothes. She says that here in a super casual outfit, but
as you can see,
yeah, like we spend money, like, I've got some designer handbags, like
I spend all my money on food.
Do you know what? You have a few designer pieces though as well, so you actually have spent some money. But I just think it's interesting because I think there's so much around money, and I think there's a lot of stigma around women and money and earning money, that I actually think there's a lot of subconscious fear sometimes with women that if they out earn their husband, what that will do for their marriage dynamic. And also,
and it does mess it up a lot sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We haven't had that because I wonder if that's because we came in and it was the inverse.
All right, and flip it around. Say if I start earning triple what you earn, would you be bothered?
I think I would find it interesting to see how I'd react. I think I'm not going to say it because I don't really know, but let's say if you triple what I was earning, fuck me. Like, that's a great life. So get your skates on.
Yeah.
But we have a great life now, let's be real. But like, if that happened, I think there would be a part of me that would probably be a little bit envious, being honest. Because I'd be like, well, how come my business isn't doing that? How come, because that's, like I said, my default is, I still have, although, you do so much work on yourself, the healing journey's never done, I will still have default moments of, I'm not good enough, why is that not me? But the difference is my comeback rate is about 3 minutes. So I'll sit with that and be like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And then I'd be like, why is that not happening for me? And then I would make that a reflection of like, how do I bring myself up to that energy, right? But I would be thrilled for you that would be another conversation, an interesting period to navigate, because when we're at that level, then we're navigating a whole other quality of life, right? That's when it's private jets, not business class, right? So then at that point, that's a different conversation, because then the gap is bigger, right? Because even though you can say triple, I was earning triple what you were earning and whatever, the volume of money that would now be would mean that the quality of life would be significant.
I'll just take that all out of it.
Yeah. I'd be happy for you. That would be the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So is there anything you think that we do as a couple, or that from, you're like, where is the list? Is there anything that you think from like us as a couple that we have figured out that other people don't have figured out? And not because we're couples therapists, because we absolutely are not.
Yeah, there is one.
What's that?
We figure out the Waitrose crossword like that.
You've just told people we do the Waitrose crossword.
I don't care. Hey, you're older than me. We do the Waitrose crossword, and I must say, I'm fucking good at it.
Yeah, we're pretty good at the waitress. Anything else? Probably more,
What that we have figured out.
yeah, deep and meaningful.
You're better at making pancakes.
That is a fact.
I don't think there's not one thing I don't think you can say, oh, we've got that figured out, so that's why it's all right. It's just we just get each other and talk. And I think just from speaking to people, not anyone in particular, but I just know some couples don't get each other. Might have been together ages, and it just kind of they end up just living together and not actually being together. So they probably just don't get it. They probably did years ago when they got together, and then it's just stayed the same. And I'm like, have you actually kind of, sounds a bit weird, have you actually updated each other on how you're feeling at the minute? Because things change over like 5, 10, I don't know, 2 years even.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think we just talk a lot, communicate, have fun. I think some people
We laugh a lot.
don't prioritize themselves. I think we have our own things going on. I have like my gym life, which you were obviously massively involved in because you're always asking how things going. You always keep like,
But like I don't go to the gym anymore. I go to Pilates, so we don't train together. We don't like you. That is the gym that you go to is your space.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We both have our own. Like you go to Pilates and you're going on the Pilates retreats, and yeah, I know George and Margie run the Pilates studio because I met them before, but that's your thing. And I think that's super important. I really think everybody should have that. You should have your own thing because it's also something to talk about as well. I think a lot of people who live together probably don't have anything to talk about other than their work. And they'll probably get home, how was your day? Yeah, all right, yours? Yeah. Awesome. Great
Yeah.
conversation.
And there's just no connection.
Yeah. Whereas if you've got your own stuff going on, you're like, oh, you can never guess what I ran into this person at the gym today and he said this, or I had a client in a show and then I met this guy and da-da-da, or I'm going on this trip because an opportunity's come up which is amazing. And you'll be like, oh, I went to Pilates today and had a conversation with so-and-so, or they're doing this new retreat that I'm going to go on. I'm like, wow, it's wicked. And yeah, there's always something to talk about, and there's always something that you can individually be passionate about. Like I'm really passionate about what I do, and you're passionate about what you do. So we're kind of, although they're separate, we kind of, if you're both equally as passionate about your own thing, you can understand how the other person is feeling. Because when you're excited about something in your business, I'm like, I know exactly how it feels because I'm like that about this.
Yeah.
So you can get excited for the other person.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah. And we just, yeah, like I said, we do the Waitrose crossword. We just do dumb shit. We play Scrabble. We sometimes watch crap TV. It's actually not crap. It's Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
I
Which
knew
is
you were going to talk about
freaking
DCC.
awesome.
And he's not just saying it so that because they're smoking. He actually finds the program informative, don't you?
Yes, it's very informative. It's nothing to do with cheerleaders at all.
Yeah. Okay, so final thing then. How important do you think, I mean, obviously speaking both as a couple, but also as individuals, how important do you think that self-development and self-discovery intentional work is? So, you know, working with a life coach therapist, working with a coach, if it's a physical transformation you're going through, like, why do you think that's important and who do you think needs that? Because obviously I'm a life coach and root cause therapist, you're an online fitness coach. So, but equally, we both do our own work. Like I have a therapist, you've done all your own, like, I guess I'm just curious on your thoughts on the side of self-development and how that impacts the relationship.
Yeah, I think it impacts it because if somebody is doing the inner work, say they've been struggling with something, so they go to a therapist, they'll work on the past traumas and grow as an individual, as a person, they're probably a completely different person that got with said wife, husband years ago, and they could outgrow them and just realise that, wow, this is not what I want anymore. Or, wow, this is what I want, but they're not where I am.
They're not meeting you where you're at, yeah.
So you both emotionally and energetically need to be on the same sort of ground or very, very close to, because if you're not, again, you're just
It's
not
not
going to...
an energetic match.
No.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get each other. And you're going to wonder why, I don't know, your partner's not in a great place or is in a really good place and you're not. And you're like, what's going on? And doing it. And you've seen it loads. I've seen loads of people in the fitness industry start competing and it's nothing to do with the competing or the competition, but then they actually start figuring out, oh, I can do this and I can do that. And they start doing work on themselves or whatever, and then go on and see relationships break up. And you're like, should have spotted that a lot sooner and sat down and communicated and talked to each other. And so yeah, I think it's super important, even if it's something small as listening to some audiobooks, like listening to some podcasts, seminars. Like if you don't want to, you know, if you're not ready to go cool and ready to go speak to a therapist about anything I've got going on, or go to the gym, do some exercise on yourself, walk outside, listen to audiobooks. Just, you got to do, everybody needs to do something to almost question how they think and feel, but in a positive way.
Yeah. So that was it. Full interview with my husband on what gives us this amazing relationship.
Anything else you want to ask?
No?
No, nothing?
Anything else you want to say?
Probably.
Like...
Don't know. Depends if you want to ask me anything else.
No? I think that's it.
Could be anything to do off topic.
Like what?
I don't know. Oh,
What's your favourite food?
burgers and chips. No, cookie dough.
That was close.
Oh,
What's your favourite film?
favourite film?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, wow. This is a tough one. Now, me and Lucy have never actually sat down and watched these because she thinks they're boring.
Careful.
But I would say my favourite film as a collective is probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Never gonna happen. Okay. Favourite band?
Ooh.
You asked.
I'm gonna have to say Blink-182.
Okay. Favourite animal other than dogs?
What?
Favourite animal that isn't dogs, because we've got dogs.
Frenchie.
No. Yeah, all right. Okay, other than your dogs.
Oh, they're not dogs though.
Come on, other animal.
Penguin.
Obviously. It's your obsession with penguins.
Lucy actually bought me for my birthday a
I know what you like.
penguin feeding experience, so I got to feed loads of penguins.
And his face was like a little kid at Christmas.
It was wicked having all these fish and yeah, they loved it.
Okay, final question is, where's the best place you've ever been in the world? Don't say the gym.
Oh, RT Fit.
Shameless plug.
RT Fit Retford is a great gym, best gym in the world. Get there. Best place I've ever been to?
Yep.
Wow.
I know, I thought I knew what you were going to say.
What?
Crepe, the Nutella crepe.
Yeah, There's two different ones.
Okay.
There's the best place I've ever been, and the reason it's the best place I've ever been is one, because I'm a history geek, and two, it's because it's with you.
Okay, which is?
Rome.
Yeah, and the other one?
The second best place I've ever been to is Vegas.
That's it. There you have it. Stag do.
Olympia.
And
Right.
that Mino says that's the end of the podcast.
That's enough.
Thank you so much, everybody. It is their tea time. Thanks for joining me. Thank you to my husband. If you are ready to stop giving up to get, ready to stop the sacrifice and move into that aligned, authentic energy and move into energetics over effort, then you can join me inside the Goddess Code. Go to loosesuperfox.com/goddess. And I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, bye.